DeviantArt is an app that needs no introduction, especially if you're familiar with my channel. It's a place that somehow manages to attract some of the weirdest and most disturbing individuals online, along with their bizarre and peculiar artwork. Recently, I covered a Loudhouse fan comic I found on DeviantArt called It's Not Your Fault, which is basically a comic that starts off normal but quickly escalates when one of the characters tries to force themselves on Lincoln. After the last video, I didn't really plan to talk about the Loudhouse again so soon, but some of you left comments saying there's another Loudhouse fan comic with a really weird concept, a love story between Lincoln and one of his sisters, Lynn. This particular topic of shipping Lincoln with one or more of his sisters is known as Loudcest within the fandom, which as you can imagine is a very controversial subject within the Loudhouse community. But hey, I'm not here today to talk about the morality of shipping fictional characters who are siblings. After all, I'm just a silly YouTuber who makes videos about weird and messed up topics. I'm here to talk about Rewriting the Stars by Underrated Hero, and believe me, this fan comic doesn't disappoint. Just like It's Not Your Fault, it tackles a bizarre and somewhat disturbing topic, but the quality and storytelling are very good. So without any further ado, let's dive into Rewriting the Stars. The first chapter of this comic is called Inseparable, and it serves to explain how Lynn and Lincoln developed such a strong sibling bond that eventually turned into a romantic relationship. It starts off as a dialogue between Lynn and Lincoln. Apparently something really bad happened sometime after they started dating. They recall losing basically everything they had, now only having one another. It's worth noting that Lynn and Lincoln narrate the entire comic. So if you see an orange speech bubble, it means present-day Lincoln is narrating. If you see a red one, it's Lynn. They make comments frequently as the comic progresses. While they talk to each other, they try to figure out what day led to all of this. Not the day when everything went south and they lost everything, but the day they started having feelings for each other. The year is 2009, and Lincoln and Lynn are playing tag in their room. Everything is going fine until suddenly Lincoln falls and hurts his nose. The noise attracts the attention of their four older sisters, Luna, Lori, Lenny, and Luann. They are pretty mad at Lynn, because apparently Lincoln getting hurt while playing with her is a recurring issue. They think Lynn is too rough with him. After all, he's the youngest of them all and still a bit fragile. Recalling all the times Lincoln got hurt while playing with her, Lynn feels completely remorseful and runs out of the room. Great job guys, now Lincoln is the one feeling bad. He rushes off to find out where Lynn went, eventually finding her crying outside the house. Lincoln immediately goes to talk to her. He doesn't want her to feel bad. He doesn't care how many times he gets hurt while playing with her, because he truly enjoys every single minute they spend together. He makes her a promise that no matter what happens, he will never leave her and she will never leave him. As the years go by, their bond only grows stronger, and seemingly everything up to that point was normal. They both thought that, even though they were very attached to each other, there was nothing romantic about it. That is, until one particular day when Lynn found out that Lincoln was getting bullied at school. She had been a victim of bullying herself at some point in her life, so she knew exactly how bad her brother must have been feeling lately. If you have watched the actual Loudhouse TV show, you probably know that the bully in question is Ronnie Ann. The comic makes a direct reference to what happened in the episode Heavy Metal, where Lincoln's sisters find out he's being bullied by Ronnie Ann and decide that the best way to deal with it is for Lincoln to kiss her. It doesn't go well, and he ends up getting punched in the face. I'm explaining all of this because the comic replays that same event. And this will be a recurring thing. A lot of the comic story makes references to the actual episodes of the show, and I'll be explaining that every time it happens, of course. When Ronnie Ann punched Lincoln in the face, every single one of his sisters felt bad. All of them except Lynn. She couldn't explain why, but she felt relieved that things between Ronnie Ann and Lincoln didn't work out. That's because, deep down, she already had feelings for Lincoln, she just didn't realize it yet. Around that time, Lincoln also started experiencing those feelings. One day, out of nowhere, Lynn asked Lincoln to have a sleepover with her, just like they used to in the old times. There was nothing unusual about it until night came, when Lynn, while sleeping, rolled over and rested her head on Lincoln's chest. As time passed, Lynn and Lincoln started having more and more of these moments. For example, when Lincoln talked to other girls, Lynn would get mad, and when Lynn ended up breaking her leg in a football game, Lincoln felt extremely sad. It was around this time that they realized that maybe, just maybe, they had romantic feelings for each other. Now, let's move on to Chapter 3, Confessions. And if you are wondering what happened to Chapter 2, well, while doing this script, I accidentally combined both chapters in one, meaning that I just explained the first two chapters of the comic. It seems like it's a very special night. Every member of the Loud family is dressed up nicely. On that night, Luna and her girlfriend Sam would have a concert at the school's prom to commemorate their final year before going to college. And also, Luna was going to ask Sam to marry her. And that's why everyone is so well dressed. It's a very special night for her. But little did Lincoln and Lynn know that that night was going to be very special for both of them as well. The concert was going pretty well. Everyone was vibing at the music and enjoying themselves, especially Lincoln, who dances so much with his younger sisters that he needs to rest a bit. That's when Lena approaches him. She wants to have a dance with him too. And so, they dance and dance for what feels like hours, until they decide to go get some air. While outside, Lincoln asks Lynn how on earth she doesn't have a date for prom, because she looks absolutely stunning. She replies that a few guys did try to talk to her before, but she's not desperate for anyone. She wants to wait for just the right guy, someone who will make her feel truly special. This gets Lincoln thinking a lot. There's something he's been wanting to tell her for a long time. Something he's kept a secret because he knows it's risky. Something that could change their relationship forever. And of course, we all know what that something is. But when Lynn reassures him that no matter what he says, she will never be mad at him, he finally says it. I love you, Lynn. And to his happiness, Lynn replies, I love you, Lincoln. They had loved each other for a long time, but neither of them knew if the feeling was mutual. Now, they wanted to make sure they would remember this moment for the rest of their lives. Lynn knew exactly the consequences this would bring to the table. She knew that someone would eventually find out, and when they did, she would lose her family, her friends, basically everything. But she was ready to give it all up for Lincoln. After all, she had loved him for as long as she could remember. But just as their lips were about to touch, Lynn stops him, because she realized it wouldn't be just her losing everything. Lincoln would lose everything too. She didn't care about ruining her own life, but she couldn't do the same to Lincoln. Lincoln was disappointed. Of course he was. He wanted this so badly, but he respected Lynn's choice. They went back inside, but they just couldn't control their emotions. Knowing that they both loved each other but couldn't be together was devastating, and neither of them could hold back their tears. And so, chapter 3 ends on this very sad atmosphere. Chapter 4 is called Secrets. The year is now 2019. which means the events from Chapter 3 happened almost a year ago. The Loud family home has never felt so empty. Luna, Lori, and Lenny have all moved out, so all of a sudden, a house that once felt small because of how many people lived there now feels way too big. Lincoln and Lynn, now 15 and 16, still have romantic feelings for each other, but they have each found ways to distract themselves from those feelings. Lynn spent most of her time training to keep her mind off things, while Lincoln turned into a full-on lord, constantly jumping in and out of relationships with different girls. At the moment, he's dating a girl named Danny. They are watching a football game where Lynn's team is playing, and naturally, Lincoln is super hyped because he loves watching his sister play. But while they are watching the game, Danny notices something. She's never seen Lincoln this happy. That's when reality hits her. Maybe Lincoln doesn't really love her the way she loves him, which, let's be honest, is true. Lincoln only gets into these short-term relationships to distract himself from his feelings for Lynn. They have a short conversation about it, but it doesn't end well. They break up, and just like that, Lincoln has failed to maintain yet another relationship. After the game, Lynn's teammates invite her to go out for a girls' night, with the clear intention of meeting boys. But Lynn's got that Cristiano Ronaldo mentality. She has to hit the gym and keep training to become the very best football player she can be. She doesn't have time for silly boys. Well, except for Lincoln, of course. She still really loves him. Lincoln was waiting for her after the game to congratulate her on their big win. Lynn thanks him, but she's a little confused. Lincoln was supposed to be with Danny. He explains that they broke up, and he makes it clear it wasn't Danny's fault. It was his. Because Danny deserved a boyfriend who, quote unquote, would love her with his whole heart, not just a part of it. Lynn tells him it's only a matter of time until he finds someone who truly loves him. But Lincoln is completely frustrated because he doesn't want someone else. He wants her, not just any other girl. And in the meantime, are we supposed to stay miserable? Have you found someone to be happy with? Should we stay lonely and depressed? What if I can't find someone to love because I already have? These comments anger Lynn, who tells him to leave. And right after he does, she's approached by a businesswoman who works for La Galaxy, a real football team from the United States. When Lincoln gets home, he thinks the best way to forget about everything is to hop on Discord with his bros and play some Minecraft. Wow, this really is 2019 after all. However, when Lynn arrives home, he changes his mind, deciding he should go apologize to her. He tells her he's sorry for what he said earlier, but he still believes they should be together and stop ignoring their feelings for each other. But Lynn hits him with a cold response that freezes Lincoln's hopes. She tells him to forget it, to let it go. After that discussion, their relationship went cold. Lincoln stopped attending Lynn's football games, and Lynn started avoiding him. This went on for a whole month, until a very special weekend came around. Their grandpa had invited the whole family to spend the weekend at his camp, the perfect chance to bring everyone back together. As they were about to leave, Lynn asks Lincoln to sit next to her. She tells him she's not mad at him, she just needed some time to think. That alone makes Lincoln really happy. The weekend started off pretty well. It was nice to have the whole family together after all this time. They played all kinds of games and made sure to enjoy every single minute they had with each other. At night, they all gathered around a campfire just enjoying the moment. However, Lynn seemed to be the only one struggling to have fun. She looked like she had a lot on her mind, something only Lincoln seemed to pick up on. Eventually, she excused herself and went to her cabin, saying she was really tired. Lincoln stayed at the campfire for a few more hours until he too decided to go to his cabin. But just as he was about to reach it, he ran into his younger sister Lucy, who looked very worried. She tells him Lynn isn't in her cabin. Lincoln's a bit clueless about what's going on, but Lucy might have an idea. She hands him some kind of card, and when Lincoln takes a closer look and starts reading it, his heart almost stops. He goes immediately to look after Lynn, finding her crying next to a shore. Lincoln wants an explanation for why she's acting this way. He thought everything was cool after they talked during the trip, but clearly something is still bothering Lynn deeply, and Lincoln can't stand seeing his sister like that. According to Lynn, she's just having an anxiety attack because of school and football. But Lincoln sees right through this lie. He knows her too well. Lynn has never been this worked up over something as simple as school. The reason behind her crying, her sadness, it has to be something deeper. And Lincoln is sure of it, because he's holding the proof in his hands. The card Lucy gave him turns out to be an official invitation from the La Galaxy football team. They want to recruit Lynn. Now everything makes sense. Accepting that offer means moving to another state, leaving her family, her friends, leaving Lincoln all behind. It's a change she's not ready to make. And Lincoln is pissed that she didn't tell him anything. The football season starts in just a few weeks, and just like that, Lincoln might never see his sister again. Was she even planning to say goodbye? And why is she breaking the one promise she made to Lincoln? The promise to always be there for him. Well, the answer to all of this is actually very simple. Lynn didn't tell anyone about the offer because she didn't accept the offer. She still loves Lincoln. She still wants to be with him. The reason she's been avoiding him lately is because she knew that if Lincoln found out about the offer, he would try to convince her to take it, and that would mean leaving him behind. But her dream isn't to become a famous football player. Her real dream is to be with him. But sadly, that's not possible. It's so unfair. Why aren't they allowed to be happy like everyone else? They didn't choose to be this way, but they just can't be together. It's too weird, too dangerous, too risky. However, Lincoln doesn't accept that reality. Is it really risky? Is it really dangerous? Isn't it worth it? Lincoln is willing to risk everything for Lynn. He just needs to know if she's willing to do the same. And she is. She's willing to give everything up for him, except for one thing, Lincoln's future. But Lincoln is okay with that, even if she's not. He doesn't want a future without her. He'd rather risk it all than live a life that isn't his dream. And that's enough to convince Lynn. So, they finally finish what they started a year ago at the prom, and finally kiss. They are now officially in a relationship. Of course, this also means they need to be very careful around everyone from now on. If their family finds out about any of this, it's game over. Chapter 4 ends on a rather happy note for our couple, with Lynn secretly sneaking into Lincoln's room to cuddle with him for the night. Wow, what a nice ending. Well, I mean, don't get me wrong, I know they are siblings and yeah, that's questionable, but still, it's a happy ending. Except the story doesn't really end here. Everything starts to fall apart in Chapter 5, Separation. It is June 2020. Lincoln just woke up in a very good mood. He dresses up nicely, brushes his hair, and even puts on some cologne. So naturally, everyone in the house starts wondering if he's going somewhere. According to him, he's going to hang out with some friends for the whole afternoon. But we all know this motherfucker ain't going to see no friends. He leaves the house and heads up to a bus stop. As suspected, is there to meet up with Lynn. These two lovebirds are about to catch a bus to somewhere that apparently requires a beanie, so it's probably cold. After the bus ride, they hop on a boat to Canada. And if you're wondering why the hell they're going to Canada, it's pretty simple. Absolutely no one there knows them, so they can finally act like a real couple instead of pretending to be just siblings. They have been saving for this trip to Canada for a few weeks now, so they are planning to enjoy every single moment together. They spend the whole afternoon doing all sorts of stuff: karaoke, playing arcade games, even watching a hockey game. You know, stuff that normal couples do, I think. Time flies by, and sadly, it's almost time to head back to Royal Woods. But hey, might as well make the most of the moment, right? And oh, they definitely are making the most of it. Maybe a little too much, which ends up catching the attention of this stereotypical Canadian character. I mean, he's literally riding a moose. What's more Canadian than that? This guy is a park ranger and apparently an actual character from the show. He appears in several episodes, but the one I need to mention is called Schooled. In this episode, Lincoln is transferred to a Canadian school which he doesn't like, so he tries to do a ton of shit to get kicked out. Nothing ends up working until he declines having syrup on his pancakes, which apparently violates the Royal Canadian Maple Syrup Code and gets him banned for 3 years from Canada.
The maple syrup hose! Actually, no syrup for me today, please. I'm a little syruped out.
Why is everyone staring at us? Is my fly down?
Lincoln Loud, in accordance with the Royal Canadian Maple Syrup Code, you are hereby booted from Canada. Sorry about that.
3 years? That's all of middle school!
The park ranger recognizes Lincoln, and since he was banned from Canada in August 2017, he is still technically banned until August 2020, meaning he was in Canada illegally. Since Lincoln is a minor, he won't get arrested for this, but the park ranger decides to call his parents to pick him up. Considering Lincoln and Lynn's situation right now, that's probably worse than going to jail. The park ranger calls their parents, still unaware that Lincoln and Lynn are siblings, and their parents drive to the border to pick them up. They have no idea what's really going on, while Lincoln and Lynn are staying as quiet as possible, trying to come up with a convincing lie to get out of this mess. But their hopes are completely shattered when the park ranger makes the following comment. I hope we can meet again in better circumstances. I'm sure your families would love Canada, but please respect our rightful bans. And try to teach your boy to control his hormones if they want to make out in a family park. Yeah, I found them making out like they were in a private bedroom. I'm in no position to judge their... what the f is that word? But there are certain levels of public decency we must abide to. The drive back home is quiet, really quiet. When they arrive, everyone is already there expecting Lynn and Lincoln. They don't know what happened. They only know they are both in trouble, real trouble. Mom and Dad ask everyone to go upstairs. They want to have a serious talk with Lynn and Lincoln privately. Initially, their parents think the park ranger must have been mistaken. Maybe it was all just a big misunderstanding. But when Lynn and Lincoln don't deny anything and just stay silent, their parents realize that what the park ranger said was true. Still, they want an explanation. What could possibly be the reason for them doing, what they were doing at the park? They are siblings after all. The explanation is very simple. They are simply in love. This explanation not only shocks their parents, it also shocks all of their sisters, who were secretly listening to the conversation upstairs. Needless to say, the explanation doesn't please their mom and dad, and after this, the conversation starts to quickly escalate. It basically becomes an argument between the four of them. Lincoln and Lynn try to say that what they feel is real, and that their love for each other is mutual. Their mom and dad, on the other hand, think they are misunderstanding their emotions, and that they are very young to notice that. They also start asking some really awkward questions, like if Lynn and Lincoln have been intimate with each other, which apparently they have. This revelation sickens and enrages both their mom and dad. They begin to question where they failed as parents. Where did they go wrong? Comically enough, Lynn and Lincoln think that their mom and dad are going to abandon them because of all of this, which of course they are not going to do. Even though they are shocked and sad about this new discovery, they still love them and would never do that. However, they do want to put a stop to Lynn and Lincoln's relationship. They will put Lincoln in therapy with a psychologist, Lynn will have a deep conversation every day with her mom, and they will keep an eye on both of them every single day, 24/7. This of course doesn't make Lynn and Lincoln happy, but there is not much they can do about it. They go to their rooms and try to sleep, in hopes of waking up the next day and finding that all of this was just a bad dream. The next day, the Loud sisters decide to hold an emergency meeting to discuss the whole situation. They all have different opinions on the subject. Luna thinks Lincoln was the one who persuaded Lynn into being in a relationship. Luann thinks it was Lynn who convinced Lincoln, since she always wanted to be his favorite sister, and Lenny blames both of them. However, some of their sisters show support and empathy for Lynn and Lincoln. Leyley just wants both of them to be happy. Lena feels bad for them because they were miserable all this time before they started dating. But by far, the most supportive of them all is Lucy. Since the beginning, she knew something was going on between Lincoln and Lynn. She has been keeping an eye on both of them for years now, and she knew just how much they loved each other. She believes their love is authentic, not a confusion. Throughout the whole conversation, Lola is surprisingly quiet, but deep down, something about it is really bothering her. At some point, she becomes so overwhelmed by the whole Lincoln dating Lynn drama that she storms out of the room to go talk to Lincoln. She is really angry at Lincoln, but not for the same reason everyone else is. Throughout the whole comic, there's been something I haven't been showing you: Lincoln and Lola's interactions. Normally, these interactions involve Lola inviting Lincoln to be her date to some event. At first, they don't seem to have any deeper meaning, just a little sister being sweet to her older brother, but now that we see how devastated and emotional Lola is, it becomes clear that those invitations did have a deeper meaning. Lola had feelings for Lincoln too, something Lincoln never noticed because he was in love with Lynn. She is not mad that Lincoln is dating one of his sisters. She is mad that he decided to date Lynn instead of her. Lola is having an emotional meltdown. She is too young to control her sadness and can't stop herself from crying, while Lincoln is too overwhelmed to say anything. After this event, Lincoln and Lynn went through a really rough time. Lincoln was forced into therapy with a psychologist against his own will, while Lynn received therapy at home with her sisters. Even though they were in therapy and barely talked to each other, their feelings didn't disappear, not even a little. They still wanted to be together, and now that they could barely see each other, they wanted it more than ever. But they knew that wasn't going to happen anytime soon, at least not with their family around. One night, they are able to meet privately in secret. They are happy to finally be together after such a long time, but they can't stop thinking about the consequences their relationship has brought to their family. Their family is going through a rough time trying to accept all of this, trying to change all of this, and they feel extremely guilty. After some time thinking, Lynn and Lincoln make a drastic decision. They pack some clothes and money and write a goodbye letter for their family. They are about to run away from home. However, just as they are about to leave, they didn't expect to find Leyley in the kitchen. She quickly understands what's going on, and she isn't taking it well. But Lincoln and Lynn don't really have time for this. If any of the family members wake up and see what's going on, they will never be able to leave. They hug Leyley one final time before leaving, and she accepts their decision, even though it breaks her heart. After all, she was one of the few who supported their relationship and just wants them to be happy. They take a train to leave Royal Woods and make a quick night stop at a motel to evaluate their options. Right now, they are obviously in a tough spot. They can't use their credit cards or IDs because the police will track them quickly. Also, they can't stay in one place for too long. Running out of options, they realize there's no other choice but to follow Plan C, something they didn't want to do unless absolutely necessary. So, they call some of their friends to say their final goodbyes, disposing of their cell phones right after the call. But before throwing away Lynn's phone, they write down a number labeled Plan C. Lincoln calls the person associated with that number, explaining his situation and that he and Lynn need a place to stay, a place to start over. They also need some extra money to travel to that place. And now, the question everyone is asking themselves, who the fuck is this person they are calling? Well, it's a character you probably forgot about, even if you watched the entire Loudhouse series. I'm talking about Hangus. Hangus is a character who only appeared in the Loudhouse movie. In this movie, it's revealed that the Loud family had ancestors from Scotland, who used to rule the small town of Loch Loud. In that town, their ancestors had a castle, which now belongs to the Loud family, and Hangus is the groundskeeper of it. Not only that, but Lincoln is appointed as the new Duke of Loch Loud. Angus pays for Lincoln and Lynn's plane tickets to fly to Scotland and lets them stay at the castle for as long as they want. But Lincoln and Lynn aren't planning to stay there for long. They just need to wait for Angus to get them new IDs so they can start over somewhere else. Of course, getting fake IDs takes time. So, in the meantime, Lincoln and Lynn find ways to entertain themselves, like playing with the castle's dragon and, oh my god, they are in the same bed naked. After a week at the castle, Angus finally manages to get them their new IDs. They move into an apartment that belongs to one of Angus' friends in the city of Woodsburg, and even though they run away from home, left their country, and run away from their family, they still had one thing: their love for each other. Sadly, we don't know how this new life for Lincoln and Lynn will turn out, because Chapter 5 is the latest chapter released as of the date of this video. However, Underrated Hero, the creator of the comic, has confirmed that he will start working on Chapter 6 sometime between May and June of this year. He also revealed the character lineup, and apparently Chapter 6 will take place 4 years after Chapter 5, with Lincoln and Lynn being 19 and 21. Rewrite the Stars sure is a comic that knows how to take a very weird topic, in this case a Loudcest relationship, and actually turn it into a very interesting story. As someone who isn't very familiar with the Loudhouse and has seen a ton of videos slandering the community and the show, when I was first told about this comic, I had very low expectations. After all, I always knew that the Loudhouse fandom had a problem with shipping Lincoln with his sisters, so I thought this comic was just going to be the same slop you see on DeviantArt regarding the Loudhouse. But I gotta admit, I was wrong. I really enjoyed reading Rewrite the Stars. It has basically everything that makes a fan comic good. A good art style that's very similar to the show, an interesting love story, and very good storytelling. Before ending this video, I just wanna say that if you enjoyed the comic as much as I did, you should go support Underrated Hero on Patreon, where he gives early access to the pages of Rewrite the Stars. I will leave a link down below. Also, I want to thank you again for all the support I have been getting lately. The channel is growing like crazy, and it's all thanks to you guys. I really appreciate it.